Take a look at example number 2 here, the second example in our notes. We have the stopping distance d of a car in meters depends on the speed of the car s in kilometers per hour. For a certain car on a dry road, the equation is given as such. And I'm just going to make a little text box here so we can put our answers in there. Now, if a driver slammed on his brakes to avoid an accident, creating skid marks that were 120 meters long, he told the police that he was driving the speed limit of 100 kilometers an hour. Do you think that he was speeding? Well, first thing we need to do is we need to come up with what are x and y. Okay. Now we're going to switch our b and s into x and y because it's easier to use decimals for that. So x is going to be s. X is going to be the speed in kilometers per hour. That's going to be our x, and our y. Let me do color again. And y is going to be the distance of the skid, and this is in meters. There we go. Okay, so we got those two things in there, x and y. We need to know what they are, and that has to be a part of your answer. Wherever you put that, it's got to be a part of your answer. Now, when we put this into decimals, okay, we're given the equation, we're going to put into decimals so we can solve for our answers. So I'm just going to bring up decimals here, and we're going to say that y is equal to 0.0059 x squared plus 0.187 x. There we go. All right, so there's our graph. Now, I'm just going to zoom out a little bit on the graph. We need about that there. You'll notice here the graph starts at 0, 0. If you're not, so if x is 0, so you're not speeding at all, you're not moving at all, you're not going to leave a skid mark. As you go faster speeds, your skid marks become longer, so on and so forth. So we can kind of use that to represent how long the skid mark is going to be. And this is actually how they use what they do as cops when they're trying to determine how fast someone is going in an accident. They actually use these types of equations. So now a driver slammed on the brakes to avoid an accident. He creates skid marks that are 120 meters long. Well, okay, which one's 120? Well, that's going to be our y. Okay, x is the speed, and that's in kilometers per hour. I'm going to put that into there, and y is our skid mark, and that is in meters. Okay, so you notice here, skid mark, speed. We have those in there, and then we're going to find some certain things. Now these values aren't actually going to matter. Okay, with our whole question, we want to make sure we put them in there, or we have them in there in our graph so that we know that. But these ones don't matter because we can't go in negative speed. Speed is always represented positive. Velocity can be negative, but speed will always be positive. So we're dealing with speed. Okay, we're not dealing with velocity in this case, and that's our intercept. And that's our starting point. Okay, our domain for this one here. And actually, you know what? I'm going to do domain on here. Domain. Okay, so we're going to have 0 is less than or equal to x, which is less than or equal to infinity. And I just need to find my infinity button here. I think I have it. Maybe not. There we go. There's infinity. Okay, so it goes on to infinity because technically we could go as fast as we wanted to. And our range on that same thing, 0 is the smallest we could have. And we could also go up to infinity as well. So we have domain and range. I'm putting those in there. Going to make this a little bit smaller. Everything else we're going to put on, or the answer we'll put on here in here as well. Okay. Now, the question states that he has skid marks that were 120 meters long. Now, 120 would be skid mark here. So we're going to say that y is equal to 120. And I'm going to make this, again, I'm going to make this a dashed line, and green is good. And this is where it goes there. So when the skid mark's 120, the x represents the speed. Okay. Now, was he speeding? You bet he was doing 127.645 kilometers per hour. And we are going to do the remainder of this on the next video.